Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. Good morning and welcome to day one of our OHO Movement Summit. And you can still register for our summit at oneheartonearth.net. And my name is Lisa Gunshore. I am a functional Ayurveda practitioner, yoga instructor, and psychic medium. And I am so happy to have all of you with me wherever you are joining us from, whether it's live or on this replay, to be with us to kick off the first day of our second summit in 2020. And this summit is all about movement of the body and of energy. And welcome in, and you're welcome to share any of your comments, questions in the comments section of both the live chat in the live feed and also in the comment section on the video afterwards. We will be getting back with every single person that makes a comment or a question. So don't worry, we won't forget you. And again, it's early in the morning in Colorado. I see some folks are starting to join in. Welcome, thank you. It is early here, but it's a reasonable hour on the East Coast, and I'm happy to introduce our first facilitator, which is Cairo. Welcome, Cairo.
Welcome, Lisa. So happy to be here. I'm calling from the sunny Bahamas.
Yes, you're very lucky. Well, we are happy to have you here and welcome, and I'm going to turn it over to you. And thank you to everybody who's watching. All right, go ahead.
Yes, I'm Cairo Rocha, and I've been in the Bahamas for so many years. But my journey it started a long time ago. And this is a new beginning to me because up until recently, I used to travel, I actually still do, travel and teach seminars, both in Bahamas and abroad. But there is a point when you see that you can reach farther, you can reach farther distance. And this is a very motivating factor for me. But before anything else, I'd like to thank Lisa Gunshore for facilitating this process, for creating this space for like-minded people, like-minded souls to get together and celebrate this beautiful moment in our story. There is a word that I like very much in Sanskrit. It's called pralaya. Pralaya means it's a point in time in which nothing seems to be happening. Everything seems to be like a still moment. But nonetheless, there's lots going on. There's some sort of fermentation, brewing. And next time we see, it will be something beautiful happening, miracles happening. And I strongly believe that's what we experience at the moment. Again, Lisa said, my name is Cairo Rocha. I've been practicing Chinese, Japanese, and Tibetan medicines for a long time, so over 30 years now, maybe more. And my journey began in Japan, started in Japan a long time ago. And I went to Japan and spent 4 years studying Japanese and Chinese medicine. But interesting enough, like looking back in retrospective, it's not that something like one day I woke up and saying I would like to study acupuncture, let alone in Japan or Asia. Far from that. I was born in Brazil, in the countryside of Brazil. But for so many years as I grew up, a teenager and young adult, I couldn't relate to anything that was going on in terms of professions. I couldn't see myself doing what all my friends and classmates were doing. There seemed to be something missing. And I decided, because I like maps, I like traveling, and so I decided to study geography, then geology. But it was always this void. There was something missing, even though I enjoyed what I was doing, but there's something missing. And then I decided to study law. I became a lawyer. Just in the beginning, it was even more complex. The feeling became more complex. It was not what I'm looking for. Until one day, one weekend, I saw this ad in the newspaper, Doin Weekend. Doin is a Japanese acupressure, for those who don't know. It's a follow the meridians. But in that weekend, something happened to me and shorted circuit every neuron in my brain. And I said, this is it. This is it. This is something I've been looking for all my life. So that's stayed, vibrating me. And immediately after that, I met this old acupuncturist. He was about to retire. And he had this study in Japan with a samurai descendant who passed on all this information to him and taught him everything he knew. Was immediately after the war. And that's precisely the person I met after this weekend course. And he came to me and said, go to Japan to study acupuncture, go to Japan. Well, at that point, I said, I can't. I mean, I changed profession for so many times. And going to Japan is not an easy thing. But he kept insisting, go to Japan, go to Japan. And then immediately after that, or in the same time, I heard that a very traditional school of acupuncture in Japan was opening its doors for acupuncturists, for foreigners for the first time in their history. I said, that's quite interesting, the sequence of events, but I wasn't convinced yet. So I need a sign. I prayed for a sign, and I got a sign. I remember to this day, even now, a dream that I had. In this dream, I was in a large room sitting, and in front of me, there was this Japanese blue and white porcelain vase broken into pieces. And the pieces are scattered as far as my eyes could see. And behind me, there was this voice or this suggestion, go and assemble this vase. So the next morning, I bought the ticket and, into Japan in my life. Everything changed. Now, looking back in retrospective, now that I'm talking, I had a premonition when I was about 6 to 7 years of age. I used to have this recurrent dream. At that time, it was a nightmare, but it was my dream. I had this huge hand. My hands were huge. And I was trying to hold a needle, pick up a tiny needle. And because my hand was so big and the needle was so small, that created a little bit of anxiety. And I started crying. I used to cry. My mom would come and console me. So I guess there was a little premonition, come to think of it. Then I spent 4 years in Japan, and then 4 years in Germany studying natural medicines, the Western perspective. Got exposed to Maria Treben, study her teachings and follow her teachings. Maria Treben was a very knowledgeable Austrian herbologist. And she taught me something so important that I carry to this day, that even the weeds, and precisely the weeds, are very important to us. The fact that they keep coming, the fact that they are just to try to get rid of them, but they keep coming, that lies the importance, the life force that they have. And then another study that I did, it was very important to me, was Rudolf Steiner studying plants with the anthroposophy aspect of it. It was very important for me to understand the connection with plants and the planets and the earth surrounded the universe. But the interesting thing is that during all this time, now 30-something years later, I'm in the Bahamas with my practice, and I came to a conclusion. I have these three important things, three important aspects that I always keep with me. One is the concept of chi, or concept of energy is real, tangible, and we can easily apply to our lives, in our daily lives. Number two, true healing. True healing is self-healing. There is nothing I can do for you that your body can't do better. We have this amazing, I call inner physician, for the lack of a better word. And when she or he perceives that something is not quite right or the way it's supposed to be, he will let us know through a gentle nudge, or depending how hard our ears are, not understanding the message is going to be on a crescendo. But we have this amazing protection, amazing aspect of our protection that lies and lives in us. And the third aspect, for the body to heal itself, it requires two main things. One is your blood is clean and your frequency is the right one, your body can do wonders. So that's only the only three important things. Which then brings to what I come here to share with you, is the concept of frequency. Raise your frequency, heal yourself. In all this time that I've been traveling and learning and talking to people, and I've been practicing and learning so much from not only my students, my patients, this brings me to this moment of thinking about frequency, how important the frequencies are in our healing. Because our bodies has, well, if we think of what Tesla said, was one of my heroes, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So basically, every single thing in the universe has a frequency. Every single element, every single being, or whatever matter, has a certain frequency. From the star, from the human beings, a stone, a microbe, everything has a frequency. We call signature frequency. Okay. So, and us, the human being, we have a certain frequency that's considered to be health. When we are healthy, our frequency ranges from 62 to 68 megahertz. It's a form of measurement. Yeah? So as long as our frequency is between 62 to 68, this is considered to be health or optimum health. If it start going lower than that, that's when we're beginning to feel a sniffle, some aches and pains. That's what happened to us. Which brings me to a very interesting concept of the idea that in Western medicine terms, we have here health and we have disease. So we have this aspect with a state of health and a state of disease. But in the Eastern terms of energy and frequency, we have something in between. It's not that something jumps from one to the other. There is something that's called dysfunction. Okay. So slowly, so if there's a dysfunction, slowly, which refers to frequency, our frequency is decreasing one organ or the body or certain area tissue that slowly is going to transform from one state of health to a state of disease. But the beauty aspect of things, we can change that. We can prevent this frequency from getting lower and to bring about disease or something. That's why in Chinese medicine and Eastern medicine, we have the pulse diagnose. With the pulse diagnose, this is a very ancient and sophisticated system of diagnosis system. You can kind of predict what's going to happen 10 years down the line or 20 years down the line if the situation stays, because this is a frequency. You can feel the frequency of the person, the signature, and what's happening at the moment. Now, there's something that I'd like to share with you that is not very well known, but is very much part of my daily life as an acupuncturist, which is called, we have a blueprint of our immune system. We have the energetic aspect of our immune system, something that oversees everything, which is called Wei Qi, or defensive Qi, or defensive energy that we all have. This is, as I said, it's like a blueprint, energetic blueprint of our immune system. And it's beautiful. It's normally an energy that's taken from the food we eat and the air we breathe. And during daytime, it's at sunrise, it mainly is distributed throughout our pores, or the arms and the skin, opens and closes the pores, opens and closes the sweat glands, and protect our body at skin level. And this is very much controlled by the lungs, the lung energy, the lung circulation, spread this energy. It's like a shield protecting us at the skin level. At night, I mean, like a sunset, things change. The energy that was outside now goes inside, immerse, and then it goes deeper within the organs, protecting one functioning, and helping everything inside. That's why it's so important to stay warm while sleeping, because Reiki is inside, not outside. That's why it's very common for people to reach out for a blanket, even if you're kind of half asleep. I've probably experienced this before. I've seen people, even kind of half asleep, you kind of reach out for a blanket or something. Instinctively, we do that. And it's precisely where the body does the healing. If I were to say, I would say it happens between, say, 11 and 3 in the morning, maybe a little further along, a bit later on. But this is the most healing time. This is when gallbladder and liver energy promotes all the detox and cleanses everything. This is a very important part. Even say, people ask me this all the time, how many hours should I sleep? So it depends. Depends how you wake up feeling. If you wake up feeling well, rested, whatever that was, it was good for you. But what I could say is that as long as you cover that, that data from 11 to 3 in the morning, even if you wake up after that, you might have secured an important part of your dream, of your sleep. Now, you can ask me now, what can I do to raise my frequency? What can I do to make sure that my frequency functions at best? I would say 3 things: what you think, what you say, and what you do. Those are very important things. Thoughts, words, and action. Because in the energy concept, when you have this energy concept, you know that thought, the energy follows thought. Wherever you have the most prevalent thought, your energy will be. There is an important saying that here in the Bahamas say you're slowly veering towards your most prevalent thoughts. It's like a boat that follows, a line. It just follows the current. So if your most prevalent thought is one direction, your chi will be, and you eventually will follow that. So that's to say, beginning with thoughts, it's very important to make sure that your thoughts are of good quality. It's like to say, if you want to plant a very precious seed that you've been saving for so long, and you want to make sure that it grows to become a beautiful tree, a beautiful plant. So you want the best soil, you want the best water, the best form of irrigation possible. So basically, it's something you need to cultivate. So whenever I have a chance, whenever you find yourself having negative thoughts, just try to shift it to positive, because this is the soil, this is the ground in which your seed is going to grow. So it's a question of being watchful for what you think. Now, it's not basically, it's not that you have to control. The more you try to control a thought, a feeling, the stronger it gets, isn't it? It becomes stronger. So the idea is to just watch it. It's like clouds passing through, just watching with no resistance. It's just resistance, just let it pass through. Just move. It's like a movement. And they should not be suppressed. Because as I said, it can create a stagnation and becomes a more complex thing later on. I'm going to share with you in a moment what happens. If you have like, let's say, what's a form of evaluation can do? It's a good exercise. Imagine a mercury thermometer or a barometer that measures the pressure, or the temperature, the thermometer, the pressure. And then one day, just any time in your meditation, try to pick a number or a level that represents the best represent your condition now, health-wise, emotionally wise. Just imagine where you're at. Say if your thermometer marks 5 in your imagination, that's reasonable. Now you're going to intentionally raise this thermometer, raise this mark or this barometer to a higher level and freeze it there and keep it there. And keep doing that every morning or every so often. Try to evaluate, try to assess, do some assessment to see how you're feeling. And then try to imagine where you are and always bring yourself up and just freeze it and just stay there. So this is like your thought carry energy, chi, to stabilize your frequency. This is one thing you can do. Now, I know another thing that I've been working for so long is the concept of emotions, the emotions being energy, being a form of energy. Basically, the Chinese take it very seriously. The ancient Chinese always consider emotions as being a very important part of our human beings. So we express our humanness. Yeah? You cannot live without emotion. And I can even say mastery, the true mastery, the true wisdom is not based on knowledge. Of course, knowledge is desirable, but the true mastery is when you manage to master your feelings, your emotions. You absorb your emotions, you deal with emotion, but also release them. That's the true mastery. That's when we evolve as human beings, as spiritual beings. And in Chinese medicine, the interesting thing is that they associate each emotion to a particular organ, at least the main emotions. For instance, the liver is associated with anger. Heart is associated with elation. Earth is worrying. Sadness with the lungs, and fear with the kidneys. Basically, in practical life, you know this is true. Like, for instance, if somebody has, you've probably seen this so many times, because the lungs are associated with the immune system in Chinese medicine, hence the thymus gland, a major immune system organ here. And energetically, the lungs control how the energy circulates in our chest. Now, if lungs associate or suffer from sadness, melancholy, you understand why sometimes a couple that's been together for so long, and then one passes away, and the other one becomes ill and it see the health deteriorating, and eventually died as well. So that explains why, because state of sadness contract the chi, contract how the energy flows in our chest. And then it kind of destabilizes the immune system, and that's why things happen. Another thing is anger affecting the liver. You see, when it normally affects the liver, and this energy it goes up, rises, right? You never see somebody saying, I was so angry that I lost my foot, or went down to my feet. It's always up to a head, right? You went up your head, I lost my head. It's always up. So that's why anger does. It raises the energy. And fear does the opposite. It brings it down. It brings it down to our kidneys. And you realize that in sheer fear, you wet your pants, right? So the energy goes down. And this is how my book came about. Anger goes up, fear goes down, emotions and the healing link. a hidden link. This book came about because it came from something very important that happened to me when I came back to Brazil. After 8 years abroad, I went back to Brazil and started there, opened my first office. And my first patient, I wouldn't say my very first, I always believe there is my very first patient was a lady from Canada, French speaking. And she came to me because she had this excruciating pain in her thigh. It was painful, painful, painful. And she had tried everything else. And then she thought, maybe I should try acupuncture. So acupuncture is the last thing that comes to people's mind. I have tried everything, what else? Then comes acupuncture. But anyway, she came and I was there, my beautiful needles from Japan. And I started applying some needles here and there. And this lady started crying. First sobbing gently, and then he started crying. And I didn't know what to do. I was crying inside. Oh my goodness, I managed to hurt my first patient. I'm not going too far in this profession. So I quickly removed my needles and let her go. And she left and crying. And I was mortified. I didn't know what to do. But on the following morning, there she was again. She came back to my waiting room, and luckily she wasn't crying anymore. Actually, she had a smile. I said, "What happened to you?" And she said, "Well, on that very night, last night, I had this dream, which was mostly a nightmare. I had in this dream, I had somebody was whipping constantly my thigh. I was in this black shape, a huge shape, black color shape, and I was being whipped constantly on my thigh. And with that, it was lots of emotion, fear, anger, hopelessness, lots of things that came about. And the interesting thing is, when I woke up in the morning, this morning, everything's gone. The pain completely disappeared. I didn't know what to make of it. I had no idea, because I knew acupuncture had a very effective therapy for a spectrum of things, but I didn't know what to do with that information. And then I started thinking, and I realized that emotions or a state of feeling that's trapped inside will find eventually a way to let us know through a pain or discomfort. That's when I start realizing the presence, the conclusion there is an inner physician sending a message saying something needs attention. And then by addressing that in some way, or therapy or something, you bring about that which needs attention, that which needs some resolution. So from that moment onwards, for every time I came across somebody, whether came to me with a migraine headache or stomachache, whatever that was, I started looking for, pulling the thread, and realized that behind there was a trapped emotion. And once that is done, true healing happens. Because if you don't find the real cause with the stagnating energy that is affecting the person's vibration, the affecting chi, it's going to be so far. It's going to be almost like a yo-yo. You get better, you get worse, get better, you worse. So once you find out the core of the problem, the reason why this thing came about, the discomfort came about, then you find out. You can truly heal the person. And basically, there's something else we can do. It's so important to interact with people. It's a gift to have friends and family, somebody really interact with you, because there are certain emotions, most of them. As I said, emotions are very healthy energy. They just come, but let them go, let them flow. The only problem when they stay there, they stagnate, almost like a second skin or a diver's suit, as I say. You cannot see that anymore. And a friend, a therapist can spot that, can see that, and you cannot. I've seen many cases that it's just like, for instance, like calling attention. There's something calling attention, and you feel that something's not quite right. And I have an exercise. I have a few, but one that I would like to share with you. When you're dealing with the particular emotion, then you know this always there. You're always angry, or you're always sad. You identify that's the case. I think the best thing to do, one of my suggestions, to pull up a chair. So dialogue with that emotion. So like let's get a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and sit with that emotion in your imagination. You can give it a face, you can give it a name, a shape, and ask this emotion, this tete-a-tete, what can I do for you? What's the reason of you in my life? What can I do for you? What do you want from me? Because when you do that, you kind of separate yourself from the emotion, okay? You, the creator, the emotion cannot exist without you. And the emotion is the creature, okay? So by doing this kind of creating this imaginary dialogue, you separate yourself from the emotion, and you can easily dialogue. And it's amazing what you can hear. Sometimes it's just attention. Sometimes it's just something you've been doing so long, and that's enough to break the spell. It's like breaking the spell. Okay? There are more than one emotions. You identify 2 or 3 or more. You can still do this, but it's best to do like to call a meeting, like a board meeting, like some CEOs do. Like you have this oval table, so feng shui friendly oval table, and just see what each one has to say. What can you do to make them happy? What can I do? Basically, they just want to be heard. So these are small tools that you can do. The other one that I like very much is to recycle the emotion. Okay, you know that this emotion is staying there, is stagnant, but you can recycle as they come. Let me give an example. Say if you are overwhelmed, you're upset at some situation that is affecting you at the moment, just go to a very quiet place and then say it to yourself. You don't need to scream, just say it to yourself. I know, I am aware that you are part of you here, that I'm upset, that I'm sad, that I'm angry or something. I know, I acknowledge that, but I like myself. So in one sentence, you acknowledge that which is affecting you. You're giving it attention, yeah? But on the rest of the sentence, you say something positive, not to your conscious mind, it's just things just work, but our subconscious mind that stores everything as being true. Yeah. So in one hand, you're acknowledging the emotion, you acknowledge that which is affecting you, but you're adding something nice. So basically, you recycle that energy. It doesn't stay with you. So it's very powerful. So those are small things that seem small, but you put them together, they're wonderful. Now, another thing that I like to say about the thought and feelings is basically one of the most paralyzing emotions we have that affect us in so many ways is fear. Fear, as I said, brings the energy down. And once the energy down, you can't do much. And as I said, it's paralyzing and can create problems, maybe immediately or maybe down the line. And there are basically 3 forms of fear in energy world that I can identify. One is the energy that is like life-threatening fear, which affects your basic chakra, a root chakra about survival. So that's a very life-threatening fear, a very strong fear affects your root chakra, Muladhara. The second fear affects the second chakra, Swadhisthana. It's more like the regular fear that we have, daily fear, fear of this, fear of heights, fear of enclosed spaces or in general. And the third chakra, and the third fear that affects the third chakra, Manipura, which is more to do with feeling secure or disempowered. So those are the main ones. They are lower ones that affect your lower body. And basically, one thing that an exercise, especially if you're dealing with fear, especially in the times you're living now, when fear seems to be so prevalent. There's so many ways of doing this. I have so many cards under my sleeves that I recommend share with my patients. But there's one that I like to share with you today. You can apply right away. Basically, look at the body language when somebody's in fear. It's contracted, right? It's very much contracted, and you tend to be breathing shallow and fast. And the best way to change this is by outstretching. You know that the painting, the Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci, the Vitruvian Man, outstretching arms, outstretched legs. So what you do is, while still experiencing fear, stretch as much as you can. Every fiber of your arm, your leg, go as much as you can. You can lie down or standing up. And while you're stretching as much as you can, just start breathing deeply, slowly and deeply. And you're going to change your brain waves from beta, very, very agitated, to like alpha or theta, depending. It's a desirable state. It doesn't take too long for that. So please, if you forgot everything I've said so far, forgotten everything I've said so far, think about this, something you can do for your fear, okay? The second one that I mentioned was words. It's very important to your frequency, the words you say, especially the most prevalent words. The Russian scientists, recently, they realized that our words, the way we say things, has a tremendous impact on our DNA. So basically, you can transform your environment, transform your life, your health, by choosing well the words you say. It's almost like being careful. It's like in the beginning you don't know what to say. I've been used to do this all along, saying words, but be careful with what you say, because that's one step of, that's something you can improve your frequency. And that brings me to mantras and prayers. That's why prayers and mantras are very powerful. In my belief, this is my opinion, they're not important in themselves. But what's important to, they're just words or sounds, but most important to me, as I see in terms of frequency, and what's the thought behind? What's the energy behind? What is the intention? Who are you praying to? Why are you praying for? Why is reciting these mantras? Very powerful, number one. Number two, this is a Tibetan medicine teaching. When you sing a mantra or say a prayer, you vibrate, the roof of your mouth will vibrate, and that's precisely, on top of that is pineal gland, which is the gland that's connected to the divine, it's connected to a higher aspect of our beings. So by saying a mantra, you vibrate in your pineal glands, or praying vibrate. So hence the connection with the divine. Okay. Another thing that's important about speech and say has an impact on your fifth chakra, because fifth chakra is about expressing oneself. It's manifesting yourself. It's a little glitch here. Sorry, it froze for a bit. So it's manifesting yourself in this world, but not only in terms of words, but here I am here. You know, the word, the expression "I am" is very powerful in this area here. Yeah, it's between the heart chakra and then the sixth chakra. So I am. So this is very important how it vibrates as well. Now, in terms of actions, again, good deeds, what you do has a tremendous impact on your frequency. As somebody once said, if you do something, if you give, even a smile, give somebody an apple, whatever that is, this has a tremendous impact on your frequency. Say if you give an orange to somebody who doesn't like orange, you don't know that obviously. So you give an orange, if the person doesn't care about orange, but the fact that you gave that orange carries a tremendous impact on your energy, in everybody's energy. But it comes to what I normally believe, that the gift of a gift is in the giving. By just giving something, the gift has already done. The beautiful energy has already transferred to somebody, regardless what the person is doing. And this has a tremendous impact on your energy. Obviously, what you eat is tremendous, is very powerful, because we know that the frequency that is connected to fresh vegetables or plants or live food is very high. Almost sometimes 200, like a fresh vegetables is 22 megahertz. It's really high. It can bring your energy really high. The other one's essential oils. The essential oils are the highest manifestation of the vegetable kingdom. Some frequencies, such as the rose essential oils, go to 320 megahertz. It's something huge. And of late, I'm experimenting. I put together some essential oils. I have a formula. That's the highest frequency available at the moment, or known to me. And I use in my patients when I see that the energy needs to be uplifted, the frequency is too low, with amazing results. Another thing that is very good, humor. Humor is wonderful for your frequency. So Chinese say 3 laughs a day keep the doctor away, or something of a kind. But the Chinese say it's very important to laugh, to have a very good, to cultivate a very good sense of humor. Yeah, because it shakes, it moves the energy in such a way that it goes everywhere. Of course, the highest is love, but maybe just below or together, humor. Humor is wonderful for our energy. As I said, the energy, the frequency, it's basically, we all have that signature frequency. So that's when we see that we are fine and in health. We feel healthy. I don't feel anything. That means our frequency is stable. Also, another thing that affects us so much is to go to places that nourishes us. Like say, if you go to like be in nature, be the water, if you're close to water, the sea or tree. The Japanese have this forest bath or bathing that you can spend some time. And it's been measured that your frequency goes really high after being exposed to plants or the nature energy. Go to places, spots, areas. That's why people in the old days used to go on pilgrimages. The further the distance, the more meaningful it was. And I had my share of experiencing that. I was after I went to Dharamsala to study medicine, Tibetan medicine. I spent basically a month there. And after that, I went to Ladakh, which was an old dream of mine in the Himalayas. Ladakh is the Tibetan, the Hindu side of Tibet, the Indian side of Tibet. And I was in my energy. I'd gone to a temple, the monastery, so I was very charged. And remember, I went back to a hotel. It was just myself. It was the beginning of a season. It was very cold. And at night, I remember I was looking for something in my suitcase and opened a zipper, and out came a book. It's something about mudras, the movement with the hands, postures. I had no idea what that book was doing in my suitcase. I had no idea. I didn't take it there. I don't remember having bought this, but the fact was that this book came out. And I started looking at this book and thought, wow, interesting. And I started, browsing, very interesting, because I've seen so many deities, Buddhas with different postures. So I went to sleep and woke up in the middle of the night, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, as we say in the Bahamas. And all of a sudden, everything made sense to me, those mudras, the mudra concept, because I could see it from the Chinese meridian perspective, or the energy perspective. I realized that it was not just postures to induce meditation and everything, but it was healing. There was some healing aspect to it. So that came about. I wrote almost, I don't know how many pages about this, and this became transformed into a PowerPoint presentation, which I presented in Montreal a few years ago, and now it's a book. But the idea is that you can raise your frequency and treat specific issues by using certain mudras. And one of the main ones I want to share with you for our energy, for our frequency, is this one. I don't know if you can see from the angles. Just that is, this is lotus. This is a lotus mudra. It's very powerful in terms of energy to raise your frequency, especially when you're like in fear or a situation that you feel there is no escape, no resolution. You just hold this for 15 minutes or more, and this brings about peace. This raises your frequency in such a beautiful way. The other one is this one that I normally do like this. This is Ganesh. So removing all the obstacles. So while you can just focus on what's going on and what's happening to you, and you have this amazing energy that start taking over your body, your arms, the whole thing. There's an element of, there's a warmth that happens immediately after. The other one that I like very much is when you are, feel that your frequency is low and not feeling very well, feeling low, means that you're not home. The Chinese talk very much about the Danqian, and the Japanese talk about Hara, this center of energy we all have. And if you're in state of fear or in state of emotion, that means you are everywhere. Your energy is everywhere, but where it's supposed to be, which is at your Hara or your Danqian. And the best way to deal with this, to work with this, is to call yourself. Call your name. Say your name is Maria. You just 7 times. Just say Maria, 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 Maria. Just call 7 times your name or your nickname, whatever you relate to more. And you realize there's a tingling sensation happens either when you finish there or in the middle of calling your name, and means I'm home, means you're back to where you're supposed to be. It's literally calling yourself back. The other thing I would like to share with you is there's another practical thing you can do about the emotions, which I have a good travel companion. I say this is a spare ear. I always tease in case I lose one, I have an extra one. Basically, this is very important for our frequency, because if you look carefully, what does it remind you of when you look at an ear? A baby upside down, right? This is the head, and the baby's coiled like a fetus upside down. So this is the head, this is the spine, the internal organs, etc. So one thing that you can do is that knowing that this represents your whole body, your whole being in the ear. And this part of your body is called microsystem, everything in one. And this is actually part of a workshop that I normally teach or presentation. It's called the divine hologram, because we have in our body parts that represents the whole thing. They represent the whole thing. And the ear, if you want to work with your frequency, just get hold of a very expensive tool, which is like a pencil with a rubber on one end. And you can just rub it here. Either with some oil, you can put some oil and just rub your ears. inside. In one ear or the other, both. You can just rub everywhere in your ear. So if the problem is the spine, it will be on the side, but internal organs, you have everything here. You can do this with your pencil, you can do it with your finger. You just rub everywhere there. And you can move your ear as much as you can, knowing this will really raise your frequency to a very high level. There are some parts of an acupuncture that dedicate only to ear. So important it is. So just knowing that you have this amazing tool, that if you cannot work with your body, the whole body, just massage, gently massage your ear, pressing or using the pencil, as I said, or just your fingers, you'll be helping yourself a lot and raising your frequency in many ways. Yeah? And there is also many ways of raising our energy by exercising. But I feel that, as I said, if you have, if you're careful what you think, or try to be watchful, because we think so many thoughts at the same time. But to be watchful what we think, watchful what we say and what we do. We have this amazing set of tools that can raise elements that can raise your frequency. And once our frequency is high and is stabilized, our body can do wonders, can do beautiful, beautiful things. And I've seen this in so many ways happening in front of me for this 30-something years, that it's beyond, I cannot express that strong enough. So I'm coming to the end of my presentation for today, what I had to share with you. Basically, if people want to reach me, is I have my website. It's www.CairoRochaMed, Cairo, my name, Rocha altogether, Med, CairoRochaMed.com, or Cairo at Cairo Rocha Med. It's my email. And also, I normally offer online consultations for people abroad or cannot come to my office. And this, as I said yesterday, this is a new beginning to me, to reach out, to participate in seminars in this fashion, as opposed to travel and teach seminars. So basically, that's also, I'm available for calls. If I can be of any help, the idea of making a difference in people's lives is very dear to me. But before I leave, I would like to leave you with a thought, a final thought. I would like to think about it. The magic of wisdom, the magic and wisdom, lie in the pause. The magic and wisdom lie in the pause. I explained, when I was at the final stages of my training in Japan, my main teacher, the main master, used to tell me that the moment, that tiny little moment, just before you apply acupuncture, that tiny breath, the little breath, the moment just before you apply your acupuncture, is very, very powerful. There's a tremendous amount of energy there. So then extrapolating this, or thinking about this, that this magic, it lies in the pause, so the pause between the breath, breathe in and breathe out, that little pause between in and out, there's wisdom, there's divine, there's something very precious there, there's a magic. It's not only, say, acupuncture, before you do something very creative, before you do something that makes you happy or helping somebody, that moment, just before that, a second, a fraction of a second, there's a pause. And that's when the magic lives. That's when the magic lies. So it's like the pause before the creation. We are all creators. We're creators of God. Therefore, that makes us creators. And that's when our energy, our frequency at the highest, is when we create. when we are engaged ourselves in creation, we are in the zone, as we speak. So just pay attention to that. Just before you create, the moment before you create, that's a pause. And that's a pause where the divine lives. That's where magic lives. So I thank you so much for having me, for being with me all this time. And I cannot express my happiness enough. And I thank Lisa and I thank all of you for being with me today. Have a wonderful and blessed day. Thank you.